So we're going to do Sodom and Gomorrah. We say the story of Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah. And but I'm going to okay. Well, I said we were going to go through Dr. Lums and Dr. Erico, but you got it, and I talked to you, so it didn't get in this one. However, okay, now I wanted to start out with this because it's a different understanding of the Bible. And so the Bible is a witness to God's revelations and inspiration for the benefit of humanity. One, they refer to this sacred book as a guide to lead humanity to God. That is, to peace, harmony, health, and prosperity. One must also realize that the book was written by men who had some experience with God and who had heard the divine inner voice. It is a book of guidance in all phases of human relations. Every episode in the Bible has a lesson for humankind, but we must understand the ancient cultural background of the time. Now, I just prefaced that because people, especially with this story, say, well, oh yeah, learn from mankind, look at all this stuff. But we're going to get there with that. Okay. Oh no, there it is. Okay. Dr. George Lomser, all right, a native of Marbishu, which is now Iraq, in the Kurdistan Mountains. All right. And okay. The significance of this, I'm going to take a little off of this, is that Dr. Lomser grew up in a village in the Kurdistan Mountains that was untouched by civilization until about 1900. Okay, and that's when missionaries and whatnot discovered them. And so, so what's significant and what makes his work, he translated the entire Bible, and he used the composition of the 66 verses or books of the King James Bible, but he translated it. And what makes him so special and what makes us why we can do what we do and have is that his native language was Aramaic. Okay, he lived the lifestyle of Jesus and probably and as far back as Abraham, because of the remoteness of where he lived. So from that, his knowledge of the culture and the language makes his translation and what we teach, we would not have it without him. And Dr. Erico, when he was very young, mentored with Dr. Lomser for 10 years. And so very closely. So he had a chance to experience, because Dr. Lomser, though he came to this country and he went to theology seminary and all that, you know, he still had his cultural customs. Dr. Erico, he taught Dr. Erico, and of course, Dr. Erico experienced some of these cultural things just because that's what he was. Okay. And okay, Martin is not sitting in right now. Martin is a little bit under the weather, but we're working on it. He's doing pretty good. So, and we studied with Dr. Erico in Atlanta directly for 13 years. And then I say the last 4 years, it's actually going on 5. We started teaching and learning more, and we learned something new every day. And so we're here to share this with people. because these concepts that we learned from Aramaic have really made a difference for us. And so we're here to share that. Okay. And we have something called the 4 C's. We want to make sure that everybody knows we're not here to convince you of anything. We're not here to coerce you. We're not here to convert you. And we are not here to condemn you, your religion, or your beliefs. And the last one is important because if you are traditional Christianity, whatever, you will hear things that are different, but we're not here to change your beliefs or anything. Purely to put it out there, and if it whatever resonates with you, everybody's in a whole different place. Whatever resonates with you, that's fine. Okay, so let's get to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, we remember. We'll remember from the past sessions. The last time we did the verses of chapter 18, where the 3 angels appeared to Abraham in a dream. Now, Mary Lou, the key here to Abraham and to Lot, well, first off, is Abraham communicated with God through dreams and visions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and so in that chapter 18, in addition to some other things that Sarah was going to conceive, all right, the angels told Abraham that Sodom, the home of his nephew Lot, was to be destroyed because of its wickedness. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then Abraham, still in a dream now. Abraham, there's the section in there where Abraham bargained with God in the dream to spare the Sodom, because that's where Lot and all his family and whatnot live. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are, and then we'll pick up now with chapter 19, and we'll pick up with Lot. Now, Lot's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is a dream. Lot was having a dream, a vision. So we can't we can't take these things literally, though they are part of that culture. Because when you dream according to the culture that you live in. And but Lot's dream is one of the most culturally rich episodes in the Bible, in spite of the controversy that exists because of misinterpretations. But it's a great example of why we must understand the culture of the time and not apply our Western culture. Okay, so where was this happening? And just have a little map here, and you see the current day Israel, Syria, and Jordan, and the Dead Sea, of course, is the Salt Sea, and Sodom and Gomorrah. They don't know exactly where, but it was in the area in the south there, near the Dead Sea, and so that's where it occurred. And okay, so now we go to the scriptures. So Genesis 19:1, and there came 2 angels to Sodom in the evening. All right, so we know All right. When it says there came two angels, this tells us that this is a vision or a dream, whichever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom, and Lot saw them and rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, my lords, turn aside, I pray you, into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then rise up early in the morning and go on your way. And they said, no, we will spend the night in the street. But Lot urged them greatly, and they turned into him and entered into his house, and he made them a feast and baked unleavened cakes, and they ate. Okay, so now remember, this is a dream, but this is typically what happens in the Near East, even today. Okay, and it's the rule or the tradition of hospitality in the Near East. When strangers were found at the gate, they were invited into the homes and given food and lodging. Hotels and special lodging places were unknown. Near Easterners often say, today he is my guest, tomorrow I will be his guest. So Lot in the dream was doing anything what any noble Arab chief or other chief at the time would do. That is what people did. All right. And then you'll notice that it said, but Lot urged them. Okay. They originally, when he said, come to my house and sleep, okay, they said, oh no, we're not going to do that. Well, that is typically an ancient Near Eastern custom. And even to this day, if you invite someone to do anything, this was to eat, you would say, oh, please come. And they would say, oh, no, I couldn't. And sometimes this exchange will go back and forth up to 7 times. It's a custom. All right. So it's an ancient custom to decline until the host asks at least 7 times. Now, the angels of the Lord who appeared to Lot declined his hospitality, but they knew that he would insist that they come with him and spend the night in his house. The vision was so real that Lot was conversing with the angels as though they were men. But that does happen in dreams, even for us. Okay. But before they lay down, the men of the city, that is the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people of the town. Okay, now we have what we call 7 keys, and that's what we use to study the scriptures. And this, and by the way, the dreams represents mysticism in Bible. Okay, this as an example of amplification, right? And amplification is a figure of speech to emphasize the importance of the story. Okay, literally, all of the men in the town, okay, couldn't and were not, if this were literal, they couldn't and they would not have surrounded the house. Okay, but in a dream, anything can happen. And why do they do this? They exaggerate to make the story more emphasized, so to speak. And so they say, both young and old, all the people of the town, it's just amplification. And there were men who surrounded who surrounded his house. All right. Now, and they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door to them, and he shut the door after him. All right, now let's talk about this particular phrase in the Bible. Okay, when you see the phrase that says that we may know them. All right, to know them, to know, and when a man knows a woman, that just means, as we say here, carnally engaged with them. When it says that, to know them, that means it's sexual, and that's what happened. And by the way, if once a man went into a woman in the Old Testament, New Testament too, probably, then they were married. That's it. They would considered married, and that's it. So
I'm confused. Can I ask a question, or should I wait?
go ahead.
Okay, so it says the heterosexual men wanted to rape the two messengers. So did it matter if the messengers were female or male, or we don't even know that, or does it
Okay,
matter?
we're gonna get into that. Okay.
Okay.
In the dream, okay, the
Still in the dream.
two angels were men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, and so they represented heterosexual men.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and what they were wanting to do was to rape the two messengers, and I got a note on that too. All right, and so this band of uncontrollable men, all right, in the ancient Near East, in the Near East, even today, okay, raping another man, okay, it's abominable, but they do it to humiliate, subordinate, and dominate the subject, whatever. And so that's what that was all about.
Okay, thank you.
And if you've ever seen or would like to see, there's a movie called The Kite Runner that came out.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, in that there is the scene where they the little boy,
I
where
know.
they did
Yeah.
rape him to humiliate, subordinate.
I know.
Okay.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, and so now Lot is saying, I pray you, my brethren, do not so wickedly. Now, remember, this hospitality thing that we're talking about, the Lot, under the hospitality tradition, was required to protect whoever came under his roof, whether it was enemy or friend, and he was required to protect them. So Lot now is outside the door saying, no, 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 please don't do that to these men. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And this next one, okay, behold, now I have two daughters who have not known man. Let me bring them out to you and do to them whatever you please. Only to these men do nothing, for they have come under the protection of my roof. Now, this particular verse just really infuriates women, feminists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you have to understand that in those days, women had no status. Women were actually traded and bought and sold, and so I mean, we see it as just horrible, but to understand the culture, that was okay. But
Okay.
the tradition of protecting those two men in his house was above that. You know, if his daughters, I'll give you my daughters, and that's the culture, and that's the custom. Um, and like I say, Lot's thought of surrendering his two daughters to the mob of men is reprehensible to our ways of thinking, but in the Near East, such a proposal would not be considered bad because of the status of women at the time. Okay. All right. And again, I just explained that he had to protect um, whoever was in his home. He had to protect them, even if it was an enemy, for 3 nights. After 3 nights, 3 days, if it happened to be an enemy, the enemy knew to get out of there, because there was no obligation after 3 days, and so the enemy knew to get out of there. Now, again, I just have the name of a movie down here. It's called The Last Survivor, and you can get through all the war violence and all that stuff near the end. And this is Afghanistan, current day. One of our military men was left by himself, and one of the Afghan people took him in his house and protected him. So it's it's just a great example of the culture. Okay, and they said, "Get away," and they said again, "This fellow came to sojourn among us, and now he tries to judge us." And they said to Lot, "Now we will deal worse with you than with them." Then Lot fought desperately with them, and they drew near to break the door. Okay, now what's going on here is we have to go back in the story of Abraham. Well, what's going on here is Lot split from his uncle Abraham, and he resided in the area that's now known as Jordan, actually, and that's where he chose to reside. And Sodom, he chose to reside there. Now, the problem was two things, and it's called xenophobia. Okay, and xenophobia is the fear or hatred of that which is perceived to be foreign or strange. So they didn't like Lot, and the other reason they didn't like Lot was because Lot was well off. Abraham and Lot was very well off, and was very well off, and so they hated him. And so, okay. And now we go to, but the men put forth their hands and pulled Lot into the house to them and locked the door. Okay, the men were the strangers, the angels. They pulled him back. They were protecting him in the dream. Okay, and they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, from the least to the greatest, so that they became tired of trying in vain to find the door. Okay. Remember, this is a dream. Okay, in a dream, anything can happen. Okay, and so in reality, he nor Lot could have made all the men in the village blind, but this is part of the dream story that Lot is learning from, and that was in the dream. That was how they protected the men and Lot from from carrying out their mission of doing in the angels and Lot. So the meaning is that up until this time, God had protected him and his family, okay, because he was living in a place where they did not like him. And evidently he wasn't aware of that. But in the dream, he's starting to realize, okay, they're saying, get out of there, Lot, because they don't like him. So, so God had told Abraham that he would protect him. Go and do what I tell you, the covenant. Go and multiply and carry out my wishes, and I will protect you. So here, God is protecting Lot, even though this is a dream, but this is part of the lesson. God is protecting him and his family, and this will give Lot time to leave before these strangers really got to him. All right.
So in the first, it
Sure.
said, and the men, so that would be the angels, right? The
Yeah,
angels
I'm
reached
sorry.
out-
The men and the angels, yes, are
Okay, all right. Mhm.
yeah, interchangeable.
Okay.
And here again, this is the angels, but the men. And the men said to Lot, what are you doing in this place? So this is kind of like God talking to his messengers, okay?
Mhm.
Really. Now your sons-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whatsoever you have in this city, take them out of this place, for we will destroy this place, because the cry of the oppressed has come before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Then Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who married his daughters, and said, arise, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy it. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. Again, we're still in the dream, but that's what he's seeing is, it's going to happen. All right. So we have more culture again. The urging, and when the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, arise, take your wife and your two daughters, who are not given in marriage, lest you be engulfed in the sins of the city. Okay, but Lot lingered. Okay, he didn't really want to leave. Then the angels held his hand, the hand of his wife, and the hands of his two daughters, because the Lord pitied him. And they took him out and set him outside the city. Again, we're still in the dream.
Mhm.
All right. And now, and it came to pass, when they had brought them out of the city, they said to Lot, now escape for your life. Do not look back, nor stop anywhere in the plain, but flee to the mountain, lest you be consumed. And Lot said to them, I beseech you, my lords, behold, now your servant has found mercy in your sight, and great is the favor which you have shown to me in saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountain, lest evil overtake me and I die. See, he is fearful now. Behold, now this town is near to flee to, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape there, and behold, because it is a little one, my life will be spared. Okay, now the do not look back is an idiom. All right, do not look behind. It just means have no regrets, forget the past. Okay. And he said to him, see, I have granted you this thing also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken, which is Zoar. So make haste and escape there, for I cannot do anything till you enter into it. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. And uh, uh, just an Aramaic language thing, the word Zoar in Aramaic means little. Okay, now this is the end. This is the end of the dream. Okay. Then we have some more idioms and symbolism. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the presence of the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the region and that which grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Okay. Now, to become a pillar of salt, okay, it is an idiom. Now, there are so many, for years and years, for thousands of years, people have, scholars, okay, whatever, have researched this thing. They have pictures. They have pictures of statues in the salt, down in the area of salt and whatnot. And they say, okay, that's Lot's wife. Blah, blah, blah. But very simply, it just means she had a stroke. She became paralyzed and died.
Oh, interesting.
Very, very, very simply. Okay. And when a man becomes paralyzed or suffers a stroke, people say he has turned into a rock or a stone. All right. And so very simply, and we're going to talk about, compare what this was on. So very simply, what happened is the catastrophe and the loss of, Lot and his wife left daughters, sons-in-laws, and other relatives behind. And the city was burning. And she turned around, saw it happening, well, and she just became overwhelmed, kind of a natural thing. And she had a stroke and died. And so the pillar of salt, of course, means paralyzed, because all these pictures of these salt statues and stuff. That's but it is a metaphor.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
All right, now we're gonna okay. That's it. Okay, I put this because I wanted to just do the whole Lot and be done with Lot. Okay, so and Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters were with him, for he was afraid to live in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, both he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, behold, our father is old, and there is not a man in the land to take us for wives after the manner of the earth. No, this is very incestuous now, guys, so don't get upset.
Okay.
This is really, okay. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, so that we may raise an offspring from our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the next day, the firstborn said to the younger, behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. And then you go in and lie with him, so that we may raise offspring from our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger went in and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger also bore a son, called his name Bar Amid. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. All right, I just put this in there to kind of finish up the story of Lot. Now let's talk about some meanings here.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Did they do that because they thought that there weren't any men in that small town that would marry
Yes.
them?
Yes, that's what I have.
Okay, okay, okay.
It was like it was kind of like an emergency situation. Okay, they believed they
Oh, here we go.
they
Okay,
saw the Sodom burned and whatnot, and they
Right.
believed that they, you know,
okay,
there was no other men,
I see.
and so technically, there's two cultural reasons. I mean,
Mhm,
they wanted the male line of Lot to be carried on,
mhm,
and remember, women had no means of support whatsoever,
mhm.
and they were shamed and totally put aside if they were barren. So, you know, when you traditional Bible things, oh, tisk tisk, this was incest, and and many people just avoid it because that's what it is. But when you understand the culture, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it would have been today or whatnot. That it could happen anywhere, and and sin. They weren't thinking about sin.
Mhm.
They were thinking about their lives, and they didn't believe there was anybody else.
That's so interesting because usually incest in our culture is conceived as something that is a power play by the man or the mom. It's a
Right.
power thing, but here these girls went and laid with him and he didn't know.
Well, see,
That, I mean, I think that's okay. That's what the story seems to be saying.
that's right, and and um and wine, and there's when we move ahead here and get to Rachel and I want to say Jacob, but these same things happened. In other words, the guys would get drunk, and then
Mhm.
and they slipped. There was Leah and Rachel to marry. I'm going to say Laban, but it's the situation.
Mhm.
And so the father of Leah and Rachel, Laban wanted Rachel, but um, the father just said no, and so they got drunk and he slipped in Leah. And when he woke up in the morning, he said, "Wait a minute, this isn't Rachel. This is Leah." So it
Oh,
happened. It happened all the time.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I'm not saying it all the time, but
Yeah.
the men would get drunk and they would know. And
Yeah.
okay, yeah, let's talk about the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. And I just put these verses in here because we went back to Genesis 13, and it would say, "Now the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners in the presence of the Lord exceedingly." All right. And then if we go to Ezekiel, there's several places in the Bible where they'll just refer to Sodom uh, and like the sins of Sodom. But here, um, and here in he Ezekiel points out the main major sin, and it is, "Behold, this is the iniquity of Sodom, your proud sister. She and her daughters had abundant food and lived in tranquility, but She did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and committed evil before me. Therefore, when I saw these things in them, I withdrew them. So, the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah were about corruption, riotous living, uh, sexual abuse, male rape of strangers, excessive pride, violence, and neglecting those in need. Now, all right. The vision that Lot had is not about, and these verses are not about homosexuality. The act described in the dream, which of course it was never carried out anyway, but never carried out in the dream or in reality, was rape, pure and simple. That's what that was all about. A man who was raped by another man was shamed and degraded for the rest of his life. And that's true even to this day. Now, the other interesting thing is, all right, in our world, sodomy. Okay. Sodom was merely the name of the city until St. Jerome came around in 395 AD. And he named it a sinful sexual act and got it referred to as homosexuality. I mean, it was not, I mean, it was not love, and actually the sexual act never occurred. And so it in the realm of things today, with churches splitting over homosexuality and people screaming, "Oh, that's not right, that's a sin." Well, but this is where it came from. It didn't come from God. And religions are man-made. And so this is the history of it. This is where Saint Jerome was one of the early Christian church fathers, and that's how they interpreted it. And then, of course, through the years, it's gotten, homosexuality,
That's
sodomy.
so interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Very
Now,
interesting.
another question: did God destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because they were wicked? And this is another concept that runs through the Aramaic scriptures. All right, the belief system, okay, was different then than it is now. The belief system of that time was that God was responsible for everything good, everything bad. Okay.
Mhm.
And all catastrophes were attributed to God, not just natural ones, but all of them. If you stubbed your toe, okay, God did it, and you were being punished. That's the key. Okay. So if something bad happened, it was because the person, people, or nation were wicked. Now that runs that runs through all the Old Testament and the prophets. And so if something bad happened, okay. And then the the scribe, remember these stories were told verbally initially, and then they were written down, and the scribe would many times insert their beliefs. But God does not destroy or punish. God is spirit and God is love. Now,
Mhm.
where do we get that from? From Jesus.
Right. I have a question.
Yep.
So are you saying that the scribe would say that it was God that punished people? So,
Hold on just a minute.
okay. Oh, I get it. I think
Okay,
I think I understand that at the time, a lot of people, the common belief was that God was responsible. So whatever happened, it was God.
yes,
But we know now, and I believe that Jesus came and, you know, his message was very different than that.
right. And
Which,
Jesus changed um, that God who was wrathful and
Mhm,
punished.
mhm,
Jesus changed it to God is a loving Father and God is love
right,
and God is spirit. Jesus
right.
changed all that. And the neat thing that to me, the neat thing about all this is, remember, Jesus didn't come to start a new religion. He came
To fulfill the prophecy.
to as they say, fulfill um, fulfill the law, and to just he wanted to change. He wanted to make change,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
not the way it worked out.
No,
You know, we got a new religion based on not Jesus' teaching, and that's a whole nother story. But
it is, isn't it? But
yeah,
this is
Christianity
better.
is really not based on Jesus' teachings.
It's not, I know.
Okay, good. I'm so glad you do, because sometimes sometimes people will listen and then not really think that. Okay,
Okay.
now I'm sorry I had to put this in here because
Oh, good grief.
I mean, we we have this problem in our world today. I only know mainly about our country, and I know about all the things about, okay, and what Jesus taught, what we just talked about, and
Mhm,
this here is representative. Okay, so here we have a famous sort of evangelist, something, that person.
mhm,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
not criticizing, but it's he as long as gays are allowed to live on the East Coast, hurricanes will increase in frequency and intensity.
And
Yeah.
that's from an Old Testament. It's like
It's
I mean, he was building his message on the Old
yeah,
Testament instead of Jesus.
yeah, oh
He,
yeah, and you find this, you found it. Uh, I don't really know. I didn't check with this last hurricane, but I'm sure there's some out there saying, because after Katrina hit New Orleans, okay, and it was so
Mhm,
bad, some of the evangelists came out and said, well, God's punishing that city is evil.
yeah.
I mean, it's what they do. And so, I don't want to judge and I don't want to criticize, but it causes an awful lot of confusion and just uh, tumult to people and their ideas and the way
And
they sort of get to go.
fear. People get fearful.
Exactly. And so, and of course, my thing is that that statement is not Christian at all. But these people are recognized as Christian leaders and that. So
Yeah.
anyway, I had to put that in there because
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
it just all right. So what actually did happen? Okay, here are the theories of what actually did happen. Um, okay, for the
Oh,
most for the most part, um, they say it was a natural disaster. Okay, thought to be an earthquake uh,
mhm,
that set fire to bitumen pits. Okay, now bitumen pits is a type of petroleum seepage. Okay, where subterranean bitumen leaks to the surface, and it's highly flammable. All right. Um, okay, I got that word. Okay, and remember, okay, I have down at the bottom there. remember, this is Jordan and,
Mhm.
kind of up near Iraq and Arabia. Well, so what is over there? Oil. And
Yeah.
so what they say is that, okay, there was a natural disaster, an earthquake, okay? And that's what happened. And then, of course, we have a recent study that said, archaeology says, well, maybe it was a meteor. Well,
Mm.
it doesn't matter, okay? But the idea, is that God didn't destroy the city as a punishment or whatever. And once again, we know from Jesus that's not the case.
Right.
And but like I said, they haven't caught up. And
Yeah.
so that's what seemingly really happened. And then that leads us to, okay, so what are these lessons? And this is what I call the positive. And,
Yeah.
and all right, okay, so all right, there was a natural disaster coming, an earthquake. Let's say it was an earthquake. All right. Lot had a dream, and in this dream, um, the positive side is that Lot learned from this dream, which
Mhm.
was from God through messages, that he needed to get out of Sodom. If he didn't get out of Sodom, and there wasn't the disaster, they were going to get him. They were going to, they were going to get him sooner or later. Okay. So he was warned about that. And then he was warned that, hey, this thing is coming. I mean, if you can imagine yourself having this dream, and I know it's happened, it happens today, really. If you have this dream and said, look, there is a storm coming, it's an earthquake or whatnot, you need to go. All right. And so basically, and he was warned about the evil man that would destroy him if he did not leave. All right. So that's what Lot basically
Hmm.
happened there. So what's in it for us? Okay, the lesson for us is be open to God's guidance, however it comes. And and when I say God's guidance, I know people think, oh, well, that's religious, and I don't know, but it's kind of like your gut feeling. Um, you get a gut feeling that says, don't go this way. All right,
Mhm.
you're driving, don't go this way, go that way. And all of a sudden you go that way. Well, you don't know, and sometimes you do know that when you went the other way, there was an accident on the other part. That's a but it happens so much. We can get so much guidance, and that's what Jesus was talking about when he was talking about the kingdom or the council of God on earth, and that's what he was talking about. And so the other thing is just follow your inner voice. And so many times have I just, okay, I don't do it anymore because I've learned. But if I have this, just even little things like, okay, roll up the windows in the car. All right, it just comes to me. Well, what you do. Oh, geez, I don't want to go out there now. Oh well, forget it. Well, okay. So what happens? It storms, and you get all wet.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's just those simple little things, and so Lot learned that from his dreams. And remember, we're following like the spiritual journey of Abraham, and Abraham communed like that totally. And we're going to talk about his dream with Isaac next week. Let me see what I got. I got a couple things here. Oh, okay. We have to end with humor and stuff. So
Oh.
I mean, I mean, it's anyways, okay. Well, that is Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's the way we look at it. And